Just a friendly reminder before the video begins, you will hear 2 stories in this video and both have new updates. Now on to the first story. She had me when she was 14. And I, 24M, was given up for adoption. My parents told me about her growing up. I still have the letter she wrote me that she asked if they could give it to me if they wanted. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal child who wrote it saying she's sorry she couldn't be my mommy but she hopes I'm happy. She was open to having contact but we moved for my dad's job when I was 11 and then it seemed impossible to find her. But luckily I did. She's working at this small restaurant and I keep going but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes. And she seems like a nice lady. Sometime when she says something like do you want a refill, honey, or uses another term like that I want to tell her I don't know it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come eat at this place just to see her. And it's like she knows me already because I'm there once or 2 times a week for the past 3 months so she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if only she knew. Update, posted 7 months ago. Update, I keep meeting my birth mom but she doesn't know it's me. Well, I did it, I told her. And yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was even beating fast. I kept trying to think how to tell her. Many of the comments on my last post here mentioned writing her a letter, just how she wrote a letter for me. Originally that was the plan but for me it felt like I needed to say it. Oh, really quick, I want to say thanks to everyone for their love and support. Mostly to all the birth parents out there who shared their stories with me. That's what really helped push me to have the courage to confront her. It meant so much, so thanks. Everything happened day before yesterday BTW. I did wait for her to be done with her shift and that was when they were closing the restaurant already. And waited in the parking lot. We said hi when she saw me first but then I told her there was something serious that she needed to know. First told her sorry for keeping it from her this long. She didn't react until I actually pulled out her letter. And she started bawling from there. Like screaming and crying at the same time. And didn't even have to finish the whole I'm your son speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. Next thing I know she's hugging me instantly but then she pulled back and asked if it's okay to hug me. OFC it is, and we're just there hugging and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard though. Her legs gave out for a second so I had to actually hold her up while she's still hugging me for a minute. What really got me was her saying to me, look how big you got. Also hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant up. She wouldn't take no for an answer. We had coffee, ate a slice of their pie inside and talked. So many stuff we talked about. She told me the second time I came to the restaurant she got a feeling but for her it was hard to believe it was me. So that feeling she had was pushed way down. Because she told me for years after I was adopted she saw kids that would be my age and used to think they were me. Then she would be crying in public. It fucked with her mind a lot and made her depressed so she didn't want to do the same when she saw me, getting her hopes up like that. She says I look so much like my biological dad when he was younger though. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact with each other in case I ever reached out to one of them so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have hope about finding my biological dad since he was never mentioned so I'm glad they both planned for this future scenario. She told me about how they wanted to keep me. Especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted. But he knew they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get past it after I was born, she told me. That's why he didn't leave anything, because he didn't want to believe he might not see me again. We talked for hours. Till almost 2 in the morning. They closed at 11. She just wanted to know everything about me but her main thing was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping to give me this life. We both cried again. She cried the most. Everything was very emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy but then get sad again. After my 18th birthday she was hoping I would find her, that's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't she always thought maybe I resented her. Wasn't told I'm adopted. Or maybe had decided it was better not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it's not my fault and I did right going at my own pace. Honestly, she's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile. It made me emotional sometimes. Makes you think, how can someone who's been a total stranger her whole life look at you with so much love? It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked me if we could have dinner soon to keep talking. And if at some point in the future if I'm interested come over to her house so I can meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers. After I left she sent a text telling me thank you for giving her this gift that she didn't know if it would ever come. My girlfriend came over and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad BTW, these were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. There was still emotionally heavy stuff but I'm still glad that we got to open up to each other. Update 2. Meeting the dad, posted 7 months ago. Met my biological dad for the first time ever and I'm very happy about it. Update, lots of you asked to let you know how it goes meeting my biological dad, and to say it was emotional is an understatement. I've been feeling so many things since this all happened. We met a few days ago. Was originally supposed to be almost 2 weeks ago, but shit kept coming up. Work, and then I got sick, not COVID, for days. But we made it happen. TBH, this was more nervous for me because I didn't know anything about him. With my bio mom it was different because I watched her from far and got to know her a little before it came out. I asked my bio mom if she could be there too, just because she knows him better, so it was the two of us waiting for him at this park. He was already crying before we even got to him. This guy is strong too, so he pulled me in for the biggest bear hug and crying, embarrassed smiley face. He told me he wants me to know that they loved me so much and he loves me. I lost count how many times he'd come back in for one more hug. This definitely got to him. And he kept saying, "Thank you God," a few times. Looking at my face. The feelings, man. The feelings. We had so many of them. Hearing him tell me how much they loved me even back then. It meant so much for me to hear that, and NGL that had me holding him tight too. I'm sure to everyone at the park it was weird seeing 3 crying people, lol. My bio dad said he cried so many times just driving over here he didn't think he had any more tears until he saw us. When we were all sitting down it hit me that my bio mom was not lying when she said we look alike, smiley face. Obviously he's older, but still holy shit the similarities. He brought gifts too, which was a surprise. It was really nice. He told me I don't have to keep them if I don't want it, but he felt weird not coming with anything and he's wanted to give this to me for a long time. One was a teddy bear holding a picture frame of him at the hospital holding me. He was 15 years old. It's still crazy to realize that. And then the other thing was a journal. The journal thing was stuff he said he started writing to me years after I was adopted. He was in therapy and that helped him to cope, thinking he would give them to me one day. His way of still feeling connected to me. I haven't read everything yet, but some of the pages were his thoughts and like if he's talking to me. How he felt when they found out she was pregnant. Then the adoption. Everything going on in his mind when he first got to hold me as a baby. I didn't even know he was at the hospital too. It was not what I was expecting. It really got me. I read some more of what he wrote last night that really got me crying. I'm sad to think how much this affected them emotionally for years. Also think it's pretty sweet he wanted to write this for me. We talked about his own life, which was pretty hard. His struggles with home life and the feelings he had about giving me up. Then he wanted to know everything about me. Basically with the same questions my bio mom had. I made sure they knew they made the right decision. Because my life was pretty great. He looked like he wanted to cry when he knew that, because that's all they hoped for and it was something he always wondered about for years. My bio mom left a bit after we were more comfortable so we could talk more in private once it didn't feel too awkward between us. From there he told me stories about how he met my bio mom. Sometimes he'd point out stuff he noticed about me that reminds him of her or me and him having similar likes. Example, I love eating mangoes. I can eat them all day and that's what I bought when we bought snacks at the park. He told me my bio mom was obsessed with mangoes 7 before she got pregnant. While pregnant she craved it even more. Just cool info to know even if it's random stuff, lol. It's still stuff we have in common and we both have lots. Both like hiking, playing pool. He was a swimmer in college and I was on a swim team in high school. Both love rock music. Especially 90s. My bio dad was really open about sharing everything. Like he really was getting ready for this meeting. He hoped it would happen and he prayed every day to see me again because he had so many things he wanted to tell me. Overall really good first meeting. I'm glad how it went. He's open to the idea of meeting my parents. After I told them about all this because they definitely want to meet my bio parents again if I'm comfortable with that. Obviously if my bio parents are too. Let's see when that happens. I don't know how it's gonna feel for me. They've met each other before I was even born, but I never had them at the same place, so that'll be interesting, lol. Me and my parents met up yesterday to have breakfast so I could tell them everything. My mom was so happy how it went. She actually cried too when I was telling them about both their reactions. My dad was proud because he knew how hard it was the months after finding my bio mom and not really wanting to make contact yet. I'm really happy to have their support because it's hard not to feel guilty about wanting to know more my bio parents. They gave me a really good life, so for a while it's felt like maybe to them I'm showing them that wasn't good enough for me and I'd rather have my bio parents. But they told me many times they want me to do this for me and to know how much I love them. And I really do. Finding them and meeting them was hard. But it was so worth it to me. And seeing their reactions made it feel even more worth it. Still can't believe it sometimes. I'm just realizing this has turned into a long post. My bad, haha. Writing this has been therapeutic, tbh. Kind of thinking back to everything that's happened. Feeling really grateful. Again want to say thank you to everyone who has been on this journey with me. Everyone who sent me their own stories. Their love. Their encouragement. You guys have beautiful hearts and I'm happy I had somewhere to talk about all this and receive so much love back. Just want to say to all the adopted kids out there, I wish you guys luck and that you find what you're looking for. It's not easy at all. I feel fortunate that things didn't go badly or that my bio parents aren't bad people. And to all the birth parents out there who made this sacrifice. It's because of you there are kids out there like me who got to have a great life with loving parents. Heart. Now on to the other story. Story 2. When I was 15 I fell for a girl, we'll call her Lily. She was my dad's best friend's daughter. We met when we were 6 and she's always been the person who has motivated me in life. Even at a young age I felt like she was miles ahead of me in everything. She always seemed to have everything together. She was playing sports, making good grades in school, had tons of friends, had a great connection with her family and seemed so highly motivated. While me on the other hand before meeting her hardly could motivate myself to do anything. I think it's had a lot to do with my troubled childhood. Biological mother died giving birth to me and I think the whole experience really broke my father mentally. He remarried by the time I was 2 to a woman who pretty much treated me like dirt my entire life. It probably sounds ridiculous but meeting Lily really turned my life around. I picked up soccer and fell in love with the game. I worked hard in school and got my grades up and I just was always striving to be a better person like herself and we formed a great connection. When she turned 15 her dad took a job offer in New York. We're from Maryland. I was always certain if they didn't move Lily and I would have dated, had kids and lived happily ever after. When Lily left I felt pretty lost. We stayed in touch via texting and emailing but it wasn't the same as in person. I met a girl Gabrielle shortly after Lily left and we hit it off pretty well in high school. We quickly became best friends and due to my family situation I spent a lot of time with her. In many ways she reminded me of Lily although they were different. I won't say we were very romantically involved but we did kiss on a few different occasions and she inevitably became my first, though every time she got a boyfriend I respectively backed off, giving them proper space for someone in a relationship. In college, during a couple of those times when Gabrielle had a BF and I couldn't spend time with her I would catch the train to New York to watch Lily play soccer for her college team. Like I said before we kept in touch via text but I never told her I would go watch her play. I felt it would be too hard for me to physically interact with her knowing the situation. Looking back I kind of regret it. Maybe we could have tried the long distance thing and started our exclusive dating sooner. Fast forward to now. I graduated college, took a great federal IT job opportunity with growth potential and one day our hiring manager brings in a new hire. I turned around and nearly fall out of my chair when I see that it's Lily. We basically pick back up right where we left off before she left 9 years ago. Lily's best friend actually works in our office as well. She joined the team around the same time as me and I never realized they were friends. They often speak to each other in Korean but don't know that I took enough courses in college and practicing on my own to understand Korean, although I'll admit can't speak it fluently. Her best friend is always teasing her about me and she often drops hints. Long story short, we started talking, going to lunch dates and hanging out outside of work. We play on a co-ed soccer team together, share similar values in life, financial goals and all that good jazz. It's perfect. During the time after college and starting this job, Gabrielle and I sort of lost contact. We both got busy and worked in different cities. While I still considered us best friends, we didn't hang out anymore, just occasionally phone calls and texting every so often. After I explained my rekindled friendship with Lily over the phone and Gabrielle nearly immediately began to seek a more serious relationship with me. She knows I've always had a thing for her but it seems it took a couple bad relationships and nearly 9 years of friendship for her to see what she had in front of her. In the gentlest way possible I declined wanting to seek something more serious with her. Our timing had just passed really. I've pretty much explained everything about Gabrielle to Lily. I don't want to hide anything from her and she gave me her honest opinion. It's clear that we like each other a lot. I'll go on and say I love her. No one else in the world in my eyes will ever compare to her personality, looks, safe and well-being, everything. Can I or should I still be friends with Gabrielle? She isn't a bad person in my eyes and I don't see anything particularly wrong with us, but I guess is it possible to even remaining friends with someone based on this situation? Despite our strange friendship over the years, many called it friends with benefits. I never really personally left strung along, though that's how most of my friends saw it. Even though I liked and cared about her, we never explicitly said let's try dating, and honestly I think subconsciously always had Lily in the back of mind, which made our friendship, despite the periods where she had boyfriends, okay with me. I've never been one with a lot of friends, so the close ones I do have are quite special to me and she has been there in my times of needs, boyfriends or not. I guess what I'm trying to say, is it okay to be selfish for love and be with that one person that makes you feels the most alive in the entire world and disregarding all other conflicts and troubles of others, even best friends, to make yourself happy? Lily and I are officially a couple, but I can't shake this awful feeling of guilt for Gabrielle that I just ditched her as soon as the girl I've always wanted came back into my life. More info. I think my guilt comes from feeling like I did to Gabby what she did to me. While I never explicitly told her or anyone really that I was waiting around for Lily to come back into my life, I always assumed I'd never see her again or get to spend quality time with her. Just like a pathetic or desperate afterthought that guys have about girls that they let slip out of their life on good terms. A friend that I went to college with, who knew me back before Lily left for New York, said, "Oh, I see you've found yourself a temporary replacement," when he saw Gabby with me in college being all touchy and feely. At that time, it got me pretty riled up. Looking back, I definitely regret how I acted, though I've apologized profusely to him since then. I never saw her as a replacement, or at least my intentions weren't to have her replace anyone. In my head, I just saw her as a girl that happened to resemble a good friend of mine. I wanted to believe I thoroughly enjoyed her company and the good times we had together. At the end of the day, I'll honestly never really be sure, and though it might sound cruel, I don't think I'll ever get the chance to find out. Finally, reading through the comments, It's pretty clear that what Gabby and I had wasn't really as good of a friendship as I thought it was. I think the worst part is it's what my friends have been telling me for years, but I kinda refuse to listen. I think I might have been blinded by my attraction to her or the slim thought that maybe I was more to her than just a guy to lean on when she was lonely. Every time I would mention it or bring it up to her, she would just sweep it under the rug with some sweet talk or cutesy act, and I'd be right back to square one. Thank you all for the real eye-opener. Update: the girl of my dreams 24F has finally come back into my life, 24M, but now I feel like I'm about to lose my best friend, 23F, of 9 years. Gabby reached out to me last Friday via text and asked if I could meet up with her for some coffee or something. I won't lie, I was extremely apprehensive, despite originally being so dead set on saving our friendship, but I talked it over with Lily and she told me that I had nothing to worry about. She wasn't worried about me and Gabby, she believed that I should hear what she had to say at the very least. So reluctantly I agreed to meet with her even though my gut told me I probably shouldn't. It's not like I thought anything would happen, it's just saying no to someone over the phone or through a text is far less difficult than in person. We met up a small cafe a few blocks from her apartment. She was already sitting there when I arrived and I was so nervous to see her, but I went in and sat down anyways. She could clearly tell how nervous I was and at first seemed to have no problem take every bit of advantage of it. We sat in silence for the first 5 minutes or so, but she kept giving me this look, a look she used to give me when we'd go to parties together. A hey, I'm horny and bored, let's go back to my place and kind of look. I couldn't even look away from her, but eventually got up from the table and told her that I wasn't here for that. I felt her tug on my sleeve and when I looked back she had already began to cry. So I sat back down and listened as she started confessing that she hoped the day would never come that I find someone special in my life other than her, and that she deeply regretted taking my company and affection for granted while she had it. I'd always be her biggest regret. She apologized for everything that she had done, all the years of leading me on, pushing to the side to date other guys and then pulling me back in when no one was there for her. I tried to apologize as well for my end of the hardship and the way things ended, but she abruptly stopped me at this, getting very emotional once again. She told me to promise her that I'd never let anyone do to me what she ultimately did to me and to value myself and not to let my kindness and fair nature be abused, and walked over. After her little breakdown she got herself together and we talked a bit more about the past, the present and future goals, and just kind of talked about whatever came up. Before I left she told me that today was her last day here, that she took a job in Canada and would be catching a flight later today so that she could be closer to family and with her mom again. She also asked that I remove her number from my phone and that she would do the same. It seemed extreme at the time, but I did it anyways. Maybe it was for the best. We stopped at my car and hugged one last time and wished her the best in life before watching her walk away for the last time. A little anticlimactic or weird, but that's how our friendship ended. I guess in the long run all I needed to do was wait long enough, but who really knows? I don't feel sad or disappointed in the way it ended, and like I said, it's probably the best and I'm honestly satisfied with the closure. As for Lily and I, looking back at my original post, I didn't make it as clear as I should. We've been dating since the end of January and it's been going great. It was never really about Gabby versus Lily. My answer was always Lily. But more that I just didn't know if I should keep trying to force a friendship based on 9 years of prior history. Also, it turns out it's not as much as a one-sided crush as I originally thought with Lily. Her friend, the one I work with, gleefully told me the embarrassing story of how Lily asked her to tabs up on me, which eventually led to Lily looking for a job back in Maryland instead of New York where she graduated. While I wasn't the only reason she came back, apparently I played a pretty big part in it, which makes me happy. Thanks for all the advice. While the issue eventually sorted itself out, the comments were really an eye-opener as to what I actually went through over the years. It was really nice to get some unbiased opinions on what I should do.